Hey guys, how's it going? It is Dax. Welcome to the Encrypted Angels channel. This channel is about multiple systems or DID, OSDD, and things of the sort. So welcome everybody. If this is your first time here, it's great to have you. And today we are going to go over terms. So I was recently asked by somebody if I could please do a video about terminology so they could better understand different things, the different terminologies used, whether they're talking to a professional or other people, if they're communicating with other people in the community, the terms that might come up and what they mean. So the first one I'm going to talk about is, of course, DID, Dissociative Identity Disorder. That's what it stands for. And what it means is two or more distinct personalities, and these personalities have differences, significant different changes in either behavior or memory or likes, dislikes, things of that sort. The next terminology I'm going to go over is OSDD, otherwise Specified Dissociative Disorder, which I'm only going to pause to mention that there are 4 different types of OSDD. Please let me know in the comments down below if you would like me to do a video specifically about all 4 different types. I'm not going to cover all 4 types today. I just want to let you know that OSDD is another diagnosis for people who might identify as being a multiple system. The next term I want to go over is partial dissociative identity disorder. And I got my information from the website International Society dedicated to the study of dissociation in trauma. So I don't know a whole lot about this one, but what little bit I understand, it's very similar to DID, just that the switching is a lot less frequent and more irregular, and also believed to only happen during times of distress or intense emotional experiences or something of that lines. So the next 2 terms I wanted to go over is an AMP and an EP. An AMP is an apparently normal part and an EP is an emotional part. An AMP is an identity in the system that can carry on and do daily activities such as go to work, go to college, do chores around the house, take care of family needs, go to doctor appointments, and basically just take care of life in general. An EP with very little with very little triggers or problems disrupting their daily activities. An EP is an emotional part. Emotional parts, or EPs, they are identities that might carry, that have been traumatized, possibly carry that trauma with them or have memory of the trauma. They could be memory holders. They also could be more susceptible to being triggered and find it in general a little bit harder to take care of things on a regular day-to-day basis. And to make this even more confusing, any of the identities can actually be both. You can both be an ANP and an EP at the same time. The next 2 terms I wanted to cover just real super quickly, I'm not doing in-depth on any of these terms, is covert versus overt system. So a covert system is a system where the changes between the alters is less noticeable. Perhaps there's not a distinctive change in speech pattern, or maybe they do have similar likes or dislikes. Maybe they do have things that they're just not as separate. Like the voice might sound more similar, or if not identically the same. And then an overt system is where the changes and the identities are obvious and significant. We're talking different accents, maybe even talking in different languages, have distinct different rises or falls of energy. For example, if you watch any of the past videos with Mia in it, Mia is a lot more hyper than, say, I am as Dax, which I am the host, by the way. And that brings me to some of the next terms I wanted to go over. So the next term that I want to go over is, what is a host? A host is the main person who's out most of the time taking care of daily life and the things that need to be done, going to work, going to college, doing the homework, or doing chores around the house, taking care of the family, running the errands, doing things of that sort. Fun fact, not all systems have a host or a main personality. I originally learned this idea or term as main personality, but same thing. So not all systems have one, or some systems might actually have a couple of people that take care of this job together. Let's see, so yeah, you might have 2 or 3 people joined together that all help take care of daily activities. So you could have a couple of hosts, or you may not have a host at all. And that's okay too. So the next term I wanted to talk about is the original identity or birth persona, which may or may not be the same person as a host. So the host, I am not we don't know in our system who the birth persona is, or if we even have one. I don't know. But the whole idea of birth persona is that this is the identity or main personality that all of the other identities and personalities split off from originally. The next term that I want to go over is gatekeepers and guardians. So a gatekeeper is a person who is watching over the front and monitoring who is going in and out of the body as best as I understand it. We do not have one of these, so I'm not as familiar with gatekeepers as I'd like to be. Again, we don't have one of these. The next one is guardians, which could be very similar to a gatekeeper. I could very easily see a guardian doing a very similar job as a gatekeeper, watching who's going, coming and going into the body and deciding if it's okay or not for this identity to go through in front. Guardians will help watch over the system, whether it be an internal guardian or an external guardian. I've heard that there could be both. So a guardian is somebody who could be like protective of the system, watching over the system in general, or even watching over a particular set of people in the system or a particular individual. So for example, you could have a little in the system, which I'll get to littles later. You could have a little in the system and perhaps they have an assigned guardian that watches over them. So this could also be similar to caretakers, which I'm getting ahead of myself. But in any case, guardians are people who help the system out by possibly either guarding the front, guarding an individual in the system, guarding a group of people in the system, or guarding the entire system as a whole. So the next term that I wanted to go over is protector. Some people believe that everybody in a system is made to help protect the body, therefore everybody is a protector. True to that, and that is totally fine. But I think that if you hear this term, say from a therapist or maybe in the community, they could also be talking about one of 2 other terms. They could be talking about persecutors, or they could also be talking about helpers or caregivers in the system. So first we're going to look at persecutors. Persecutors are people in the system that might be a little bit more abrasive in their behavior or language. You can have an internal persecutor and or a external persecutor. You could have both, or the person in the system might do both jobs. Our persecutor certainly does both. She's a internal persecutor as well as an external persecutor. The next type of protector that we have, or at least that I've seen, and this one is near and dear to my heart, is a sabotager. I don't talk about this very much, but this is Dax as a host. I'm host now. My original job in the system was to be a sabotager, so this one is near and dear to my heart. A sabotager, or is it saboteur? I don't know. Which one is it? Sabotager, saboteur? A sabotager is a person in the system who might sabotage relationships, friendships. They might even be hurting the body, whether they're cutting or worse. They are made in the system to basically block anything from happening, any kind of funny business. If they see something funny going on, then they're there to block this thing from happening. The problem is especially in my case, it's almost like everything that, whether it be good or bad, looks problematic to a sabotager. And so they tend to catastrophize, which, if you're not familiar with that term, please do your own research. By the way, please do your own research on all of these in any case. So that is something that I had to learn a lot about. I had to learn a lot about catastrophizing, what it is, and how to recognize that I'm doing it. And it was my own choice and decision to talk to our therapist that we were working with at the time, to talk to her about my sabotaging ways, that I didn't want to be that way. When I recognized what I was doing was hurting the system and not helping, even though I felt and thought I was sincerely helping, but I wasn't. Looking back, I understand where those areas are now, but it did take, for me, I chose to want to go to therapy to talk about these things and to look at a different way of protecting my system, using my unique view of how I see things. Like, I see the potential of how things can go badly, but I no longer feel the need to act on those things. And I've learned to take a step back and realize very rarely the worst thing that I'm fearing, it never happens, or very rarely ever has. So that is something that I've had to learn and process, and I wanted to change to make a difference. Anyway, the next terms I wanted to go over are caregivers and helpers. You can have internal caregivers and helpers, as well as external caregivers and helpers. So what are these? A caregiver is a person who does exactly that, helps care for people on the inside in some way, whether that's offering comfort, hugs, cuddles, or a person to talk to in order to work things out internally or externally. A helper, an external helper, could be somebody who is willing to help other people understand what is going on with us. Or, like, for instance, a helper may talk to a therapist, the therapist that we're working with, and let our therapist know these are some things going on that other members of the system aren't talking about, but they really think it should be talked about or mentioned, or something like, this thing happened, this thing, or they may be coming out to try to work something out that may have gone wrong with a friend or whatever. So they might come out to try to patch things up with a friend. If one of your others, in my case, like if one of my others gets in an argument, say with Paul, our husband, one of my external helpers might come out to work things out with Paul and talk things through and get everybody on the same page. And then an internal helper, as I said, very similar thing. They might help work out conflicts between the individuals in the system. So the next term that I wanted to talk about is, what is co-conscious? Co-conscious is being aware of your condition, whether it's DID, OSDD, partial dissociative identity disorder, whichever one of these things it is, that you're aware that you're a system or that you have parts. The next term that I wanted to go over is, what is CoFronting or co-running? CoFronting or co-running is more than one individual up at the front, being able to affect immediate change, whether that is heady influence from the inside of maybe reminding the person that, hey, have you done the grocery shopping? Did you remember to get this? Or don't forget to drop by the dry cleaners or something of that sort. But it can also be affecting a change in that they could both be in the body at the same time. So either one of us, again, if we're driving a car, then either one of us might be able to hit the brake or something of that sort. So co-running or co-fronting could be a mix of any of those things. Anything from having a powerful, influential power from the inside, from verbally communicating, to physically affecting what's happening. All right, guys, I believe this wraps it up. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye. Or you things that, blah. According to the International Society dedicated to the study of trauma and cuts again. Blah, blah, blah. Now I'm dissociating. Why did I describe it that way? I'm getting off topic. The next term that I want to mention is cut. I suck at talking at cameras. I really do. I suck at talking to cameras. I just need to keep doing it until it's like second nature. Do I need to take this again? I think so. Okay. Now there's hair. There's a hair in my eye. And on my cheek. Okay. Okay. Another term I wanted to discuss is partial dissociative. Blah. Cut again. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Now that I think I got that out of my system, let's try this again. Why is this so difficult, camera? The next term that I want to The next term I wanted to go over is. Has too many comments. I need to cut it out on the comments. Ugh. There's co-fronting, co-runting. Blah. That is, so the host is the person, or I'm sorry, apparently normal part. Oh my God. Can you tell it's been a while since I've done a video? It's been far too long. I'm gonna have to go with that. I just am.